In the name of Almighty One God, who is alone and merciful and beneficent. Dear friends, my name is Dr. Abu Abdullah and I am certified scholar, researcher in Islam, Christianity, Hinduism from International Islamic University. I started a series of lectures that Muslims, when they were in the medieval time, they did contribute a lot to the science and art of that time. The Europe, which was of Western people, white people, it was in the total dark. But the Muslims countries were high in science and arts achievements and contributions. So this is the next lecture, Contribution of Muslims in Astronomy. Baghdad, the fairy city of the Arabian Nights and capital of the famous Harun Rashid, the greatest empire of his time, had the distinction of being the foremost center of art and culture during medieval times. Renowned scholars and translators, artists and scientists flocked to this great metropolis from all parts of the world and adorned the learned assemblies of Harun and Mamun, who besides being celebrated scholars themselves were the greatest patrons of learning that the world has ever known. The Darul Hukmah, which means House of Wisdom, founded by Mamun Rashid in Baghdad, housed some of the most eminent scholars of the world, belonging to different castes and creeds. The spade work done by the scholars of the House of Wisdom provided the foundation by which the stately edifice of Islamic learning was built. The Khilafat of Mamun undoubtedly constitutes the most glorious epochs in history, and has rightly been called the Augustan age of Islam. The 20 years of his reign, says Amir Ali, have left enduring monuments of the intellectual development of the Muslims in all directions of the thoughts. Their achievements were not restricted to any particular branch of science or literature, but ranged over the whole course of the domain of intellect. Speculative philosophy and belles lettres were cultivated with as much avidity as the exact science. We see for the first time, says Alnsar, perhaps in the history of the world, a religious and despotic government allied to philosophy, preparing and partaking in its triumphs. Astronomy, in the real sense, started among the Arabs during the early period of the Abbasid Caliphate. It was much influenced by Siddhant, a work in Sanskrit brought from India to Baghdad and translated in Arabic by Ibn Ibrahim al-Fazari and later on by Abu Musa Khwarizmi. Pahlavi tables compiled during the Sassanid period and Greek astronomical works translated during this period prepared the ground for Arabic astronomy. Ptolemy's Al-Magest went into several translations in Arabic, the best being the one by Hijaz ibn Matar, 827 to 28, and then other by Humayun ibn Ishaq, revised by Thabit bin Qurra, whose death was in 901. Khwarizmi has written a valuable treatise on astronomy and has compiled his own tables, which after 2 centuries was revised by Spanish astronomer Majorati and was translated into Latin by Adelaide of Bath. This formed the basis of later astronomical pursuits both in the East and the West, and replaced all the earliest tables of Greek and Indian astronomers. This table was also adopted in China. Mashallah and Ahmad bin Muhammad, two people, were the earliest Arab astronomers who flourished during the reign of Mansur, the second Abbasid Caliph. Second Abbasid Caliph. Mashallah was called by Phoenix of his age by Abu Faraj. He is distinguished for writing several valuable treatises on astrolabe, the similar sphere and the movements of heavenly bodies which have been acclaimed by later scientists. Ahmad compiled from his observation as astronomical table known as Al-Mustamal, which registered an advance over earlier notions of the Greek and Hindus. It was during the reign of Mamun that the practical steps were taken for the advancement of astronomy, and several observatories equipped with latest instruments were set up at the various places in his domain. One of them was observatory in Jandishpur, the southwest Persia. Earlier in 9th century AD, the first regular observations with the best available and fairly accurate instruments were made in this observatory. Mamun got a degree of meridian measured in the plane of Sanja and followed a method which was much superior to that of Greek. The astronomical observations made during the reign of Mamun regarding the equinoxes, the eclipses, and the apparitions of the comet and other celestial phenomena have earned an important place in the astronomical annals of medieval time. The size of Earth was calculated, says Amir Ali, from the measurement of a degree on the shores of the Red Sea. This at a time when Christian Europe was asserting the flatness of the earth. Attached to his Darul Hikmah, House of Wisdom, Mamun erected at Baghdad near the Shamsia Gate an astronomical observatory under the directorship of Sin ibn Ali, a converted Jew, and Yahya ibn Abi Mansur from 830 AD. According to C.A. Nellino, here astronomers made systematic observations of the celestial movements and verified with remarkable precise results all the fundamental elements of the Almagest. The obliquity of the ecliptic, the precession of equinoxes, the length of the solar year, etc. With the aid of these observations, the astronomical tables called the tested tables or tables of Mamun were prepared. According to Ibn al-Abri, Mamun later established another observatory on Mount Qasim outside Damascus. Afterwards, several other observatories were erected at Wasit, Apami, etc. Musa bin Shakir was a well-known engineer during the reign of Harun al-Rashid. His sons specialized in astronomical research and earned a great reputation as astronomers during the reign of Mamun and his successors. My friends, here I stop this lecture of astronomy's Muslim's contribution is astronomy. Please keep on watching my channel, Dr. Abu Abdullah.